What's up, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube, Freedom for All. Now, me, in my life, I have dedicated my life to truth, to knowing it all. 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago now, I had a very strong Kundalini awakening. It changed my life. I woke up, I decided to quit drinking. I looked at my life, I realized some things that I had to change, and that caused a catastrophic explosion in my marriage. Even though I threw everything at it, I sold everything I owned in Georgia. I moved to Florida. I moved into the digital marketing space. I started gaining good success, but being home and seeing what was happening on the home front was really concerning. And just to see where my wife was going, sometimes people they're not ready to change. So if you're going through this, right, you find your spiritual path, it's okay for things to explode. I've learned as a man that God works through all of us. God is the catalyst of all, and we're working with the universe. Okay? So in my own process, things exploded. I moved back to a state. I had an agreement, 50-50 custody. And the second I moved back here, I was into content that just kept me laser focused on the end game of life, right? I was going to dedicate myself until I got free. And I've learned a lot during this process. Now, I had a 50-50 custody agreement with my wife. Now, yes, it was verbal in Florida. We didn't do any contracts. I was walking with God. And from the time I moved my ass into a motel with nothing, I stayed focused. And yes, I went through craziness. I went through evictions. I went through battling properties. I was feeling like David against Goliath. And still to this day, I feel like that human being. But I see the beauty in it. And I want everybody to see the beauty in your story and your process. God is always working through us, so no matter how bad it looks, all right, you're in the dark, shining your light. And I want you to stay there, because they're the people that this is going to work for. Now, I have an offer for anybody. I've studied mindset coaching, reality, trend surfing, timelines. I have studied all of it to understand that we can almost mold that experience out there. All right, a lot of us are stuck in here. We can't be stuck in here, and I'll explain that in other groups. This video will be posted in the CH study group, and it will be on the We Are All One group. That group is simply for mindset. All right, that group will be where I put good information that if the right people resonate with it and you find it, you'll start realizing that your mind's controlling a lot. Look, there was a group that got me to Chris Hauser, and it was probably the 1099A group, with 3,000 broken mindsets. You have to understand, information is a frequency, okay? The more you heal, the better information you'll get. And I've noticed in that group, there are so many people like, oh, this don't work, this don't work, this don't work. Well, you don't have the belief, because you're not living with God. You're living through ego. I've seen people in there trying to do it, and they go to the damn car dealership, pick out a Corvette, and they probably got a family of 5. Not going to work for that human being. I want you to understand that. So here in Georgia, Fulton County, basically long story short of everything my wife has done, on record, the first relationship lasted a year. Domestically violence, dude went away for 5 months. Then she used me as her personal daycare for her to take a bartending job. I was okay with it. I was freedom dad. I was God dad. I had already seen God's work and his magic so many times, I wasn't afraid of shit. Even during Corona, no mom. 7 months straight, no mom. I had my kids pretty much all year by myself. I potty trained my kids. I did things as a 40-year-old man that I was just like, whoa. And for all the ladies out there, God bless you. That's the hardest job on the planet. And any men who see this video, and you have a stay-at-home wife, understand, it is hard work. Honor her, cherish her, all right? Look, our problems are us reflecting out. So if you're in a relationship like that, get with me. If you're still married, get with me. I want to save you and your family. Because if you awaken and you change your vibration of energy, it'll explode. Okay, and I want to keep people from exploding. I have a nonprofit called Kaiser's Calls, LTD. It's a legal nonprofit. I'm about to do a 508 on it. So that way I can be in ministry. My ultimate goal is to create content for young kids to be programmed to what they need to know about wealth principles. Like our little boys, where the old me, if somebody would pick on my son, I would have said, pop him, never touch you again. Now I tell my son, look, it's a vibration. All right, you're attracting this guy to you because of what you've been through. Now I want you to do one thing, just get away from him and go around to kids that are smiling and joyful. And you connect to that vibration, but don't bring a bad energy to it. And the things that you watch in cartoons about hitting each other, you do not want to do that. And this is what the wealthy teach their kids. They teach their kids about energy. And that's why I feel like my biggest gift to these groups is the knowledge that's inside this head about stuff like this, about affirming to yourself who you are every day. Right? You are not the poverty-stricken person that this piece of shit out there wants you to think you are. And when I say piece of shit, I'm just talking about the negative side of the coin of energy out there. Look, we don't have a bad government. We have a bad society that doesn't want to wake up to, we're poisoning ourselves. We're killing ourselves. We're letting them win the game. They're putting us on pharmaceuticals, taking all our money. And they're the people who miss out on this content. All right? The people who get this content are the people who go after it. People who have suffered. Right? We awaken to God energy. And I want to teach y'all this. So, here's my offer. Anybody who is good at just writing papers, all right? We all know that there's these processes. This county doesn't have anything on me. Literally, from the time my case started with my wife, and basically what happened was we had our 50-50. She was dating a real loser, and she took off with my kids. And she said, go get a divorce. And then she thought that I couldn't get a new place because I walked with God and went through 4 evictions. And as you can see, I have a place over my head. And the second I did that, and I had the actual lease, then she took it one step further because I text the whereabouts of my kids so much that she was able to get a narcissistic judge to say, oh, Candy, we're going to get this guy. And it's just energy, God leading me to this process of where we're at now. If I didn't go through any of this, and they would have just gave me back my kids, I would just still be the guy creating content about law of attraction and how I made 50 grand on a bicycle in a month. No, this is way bigger. This is the type of thing I am aligned to. Now, I'm in a humanitarian project that I have an NDA, so I can't go too deep into it, but what I had already learned in there with the word trust, beneficiary, all these things. The second God planted that seed through that project, and I had already seen that God had already given me my paid-for office space for a year. I have a boardroom. I have meeting rooms. I have the space to teach these things to the people that God wants it to know, right? That's the key, right? That's the reason why we just upload this on YouTube and the right people find it, and private in the public, all that good stuff. So in my case, she took off. I knew they were in domestic violence. Now, I had a divorce attorney. First hearing of this case. Narcissist judge kicks me in the face over and over and over. She asked me if I had an attorney. I said, not for this. I have a divorce attorney that filed the papers for my divorce. I'm also going for an emergency hearing because I know what my kids are going through. This judge rolls her eyes and just treats me like most men. All right, these judges are programmed like a fucking rinse and repeat cycle because they are used to people going in there who drink alcohol, eat processed foods, PORN, like all these bad characteristics, and most men are in there because, I'm sorry to say it, a lot of times we are in there because we're supposed to be. I led this entire separation with my heart. I was a yes dad, yes guy. And then in the end, she took off with my kids. And just so you know, present day reality, I haven't heard from my kids in about 6 days. I haven't heard from her. And at this point, I'm looking at this as missing people and kidnapping. So, what am I asking for help for in return of my help to you? I have a lot of stuff to do. And you can see I make content. So there's a lot of this stuff going out there, but there's no, like, people, look, this is the start. This is what I did. This is what happened. So in my own life, right now, because of this TPO, and I want you to know, the second this judge gaslit me to bring my young divorce attorney in that was not paid for that case, all right? I never hired her for that case. So really her plea is out the door. I didn't hire her for that. I hired her for a divorce. This judge forced her in. Now, at this moment, I haven't seen my kids for 3 or 4 months. They didn't hear my voice. I have a baby girl and a little boy. They're 5 and 6. Me and my daughter have a spiritual connection like no other. She didn't know if I was dead or alive. And this is where women out there don't understand the effects of alienation and why your government wants to split us up. As many know now, we know they want that child support. They want that 1.5. They want that 66 cents on every dollar. We have to come together and stop letting them take it. That's where this content is very, very important. So, long story short, this judge postpones, lets my wife get a free attorney. We go back in. I had already made a little bit of content about this judge's behavior. This lawyer led me to believe that, she's going to throw the book at you. And I'm like, there's no evidence. I didn't do anything wrong. All right, why are you even letting this happen? Well, look, I'm your attorney, and you should really take my advice that if you do this, you'll get a custody schedule. I'll be able to get your kids off the paperwork, which was bullshit. Fucking lie. And at the same time, I will file for an emergency hearing to Cobb County. Yeah, she filed that. That case didn't even come up for another 6 months. All right, and then by that time, I had a new lawyer that screwed me up to hoo-ha too. And actually, when my emergency hearing came up, when the domestic violence, the proof of the new guy and my wife, he got in trouble. All right? I had it. The stupid attorney, because of conflict on her life, dropped my case. Now I had to wait for another emergency hearing, which then, with the evidence that my wife recorded, this attorney acted like she didn't know how to submit it and that we needed the person who sent me the evidence, which was dude's mom. And I have an hour worth of the worst violent behavior in front of 2 little kids and a baby. They had a baby in my name. They were running around on social media. We're engaged. They're both married. And this is what the system is allowing right now. You have to understand dark energy, light energy. We're in a spiritual fight. And together, as one, we're going to win it. Now, I am not a guy. I just learned all this stuff 2 weeks ago. I've seen people in these groups for years and years, and nobody's even trying to do anything yet. Right? Action, action, action. Right? We need to take action. So that quickly, because of wonderful Chris Hauser, man, thank God I found him. I was able to see the power of this challenge. Because as I was sitting here on Zoom, challenging the shit out of this judge over and over and over and letting her know you're breaking the law. You are straight breaking the law. I'm telling you that I am not that corporation. And see, they didn't know at that present moment. I had already found content on TikTok about becoming a national. Now, because of Chris Hauser, I didn't send all this off. And something inside was just saying, wait. I wasn't really that educated on the process. But I already have a notarized copy stating that I am, and that's from October. My appeal hearing, which was supposed to be an appeal, and they gave me a dismissal hearing, be really careful when you go to file papers. But now that we know what we know, it's a little bit easier. But, during that hearing, and when I was challenging, the wonderful judge tried to shut me up, and she tried to kidnap me, as we call it. I never broke a law. Sending a text message about the whereabouts of your kids in a non-threatening way is definitely not breaking the law. I'm to the point where I'm about to do a Facebook video and run ads. I know how to target market people. I have the chief of this courthouse in my LinkedIn, where I sent her the evidence. And then she gaslights me and I am going after all of them with your help because I want to file all this tomorrow. So this video is really important that if there's anybody heart-centered out there, look, I'm asking you for just guidance. All right, I've already done the things I've done. I have that done. Now here's my question. Do I finish this and next day air this bitch? I will do that. I have everything ready to go. I've also went ahead and got my name. All right? For anybody that doesn't know this process, I'm hearing success with just doing this because legally they can't do business, right? I'm about to go to my office and write up my fee schedule. And tomorrow when the bank opens, I'm going there and getting everything notarized. Even this sucker's getting notarized. I'm dropping my ad in the newspaper, a daily news, so it takes 2 days. I'm also sending off the other letters. I found another creator called Felicia. Thank you, because when you started your video and it was all about you're a healer and spiritual energy, I knew you also came to me. I look at all of us as angels for each other. As long as we stay in that powerful place, I will teach you reality creation. I'll teach you how to make these things work. Now, what I like to do is if there's a bunch of different processes, why only throw one fastball? I'm going to throw every fastball down the plate. Now, I've learned about the the 1040 sandwich, or I think I'm saying that right, W4 sandwich. Anyway, I have so much crap. This is why I need your help. There's so much in here right now. Almost information overload. Then we have conditional acceptance. We have all these processes, right? We got 42 USC 1983. I'm doing all of them. I want to do all of them. And I want to have these bastards served. Like, I'm going to go to the post office tomorrow. Psh, next day, here's a couple of questions. I have a lot of people to hang by the balls. I have judges in Athens that I took the evidence to and said, look at what my kids are going through. This judge sat through this misery and was like, oh, I can't do anything. I looked at that judge, and this is where my balls are big. And I said, let me ask you a question, sir. Is this even legal? Are you a licensed judge? Yeah. Oh, okay. Have you ever heard of a national? His eyes got really big. And he was just like, no. I was like, okay. I was like, if anything happens to my kids, I'm going to sue. And I said it right to his face. I'm going to sue the shit out of you. All right? Then he threatened to give me a contempt of court. And I kind of just went, sir, I'm here trying not to puke all over this place. Because you have my stomach in knots right now that you just listen to that and you're not doing nothing. But okay, I'm just going to say, have a great day. I'm going to get out of here before you try to steal my freedoms. And I'm going to go on my way. So I don't just have this for me. I have both of my kids done also. So Felicia, I'm going to be dropping this link into our group in the Telegram. And I just need a little bit of guidance of which way am I going? What's the most important thing I could do next? Because at this point, we have a custody order that my wife is in contempt for. Now, during this case, because right from the door, after I took the plea, I walked out of my deck and I was like, you just got fucked. Call a couple attorneys. And they told me, yeah, up to hoo-ha. And I was like, son of a, all right, I'm going down there myself and I'm going to file an appeal. So I go down there and they give me a modify hearing. Now, during all this, I had manifested a bunch of money. My wife is still with this guy. At this point, I have my concerns because my kids are talking about getting spanked. My son's talking about mom getting thrown down. And I questioned them, and that's why they took off with my kids. They knew that I was coming because I told my wife we got one deal. If there's any cops involved in any type of domestic situation, the other parent takes the kids until that person gets their shit together. So out of fear, and I want this to be known for all the men, I love my wife. I love her because I see her suffering. I see her pain. I see her trauma from her childhood. I see her program, and I see it for what it is right now in present day reality. So I want that to be known. Now, right away, they tried to get me on contempt because I sent a letter to the two knuckleheads about, hey, you're a tattoo artist. Me and my wife are both window tinners. My wife was able to learn that trade while I took care of the kids. Let's open up a shop together. Let's put the differences aside. Money raises vibration. It creates joy and happiness when you're free. Let's take a shot at it. So they gave me contempt for that. At least they tried to. In that hearing, this is where I'm flipping my shit at this judge. You know, you want to see her fight with me? I'm telling you, my kids are living through very bad abuse. So she was like, all right, well, I'm putting a guardian litem on the case. That's what this sounds like now. Now, listen, I've talked to a lot of attorneys. None of them have ever heard of a guardian litem on a TPO case. So she tells me that this lady inside her little thing, $7,000 for a guardian ad litem. I had the money. All right, whatever. Now I'm sitting back for weeks waiting to get contacted. Finally, I start blowing them up. What is going on? I want this investigated now. And now look, this is me screaming at the system that you need to go investigate her. And I'm going to show you what they did. So they give me the first guardian ad litem. Marcy Millard in Georgia. We're going after her too. She had the nerve to take $4,000 from me, take her sweet ass time, and then when she wanted to start investigating, hit me up with an excuse that, oh, we have a stomach bug. We're going to do this over Zoom. I said, the fuck you are. All right, I own a window tint business. That's like me putting paper on a car and say, hey, give me your money. Not going to happen. So at this time, I already had my second horrible attorney, Sarah Rydell, which right away could have filed an appeal, ineffective assistance of counsel, and helped me out, but it's not their job to help us. It's their job to just keep you trapped. All right? So we have that guardian ad litem removed. Now this is going on forever. Right? I am now following the shit out of everything. I'm in the courthouse more at this point that I've lost about $60,000. I did not care. I had jobs out there, and I did not care. Hell-bent to learn this process my damn self, even with an attorney. I had people in the court going, don't you have an attorney? Yeah. Why are they not doing this? I don't know, but I don't fucking care. I'm doing it. So, now, they won't give back the $4,000. That shit flips my financial life upside down because I went to my bank. They didn't file it right. They gave me a temporary credit. And then right in the middle, bang, took the $4,000 back. Flipped my account upside down. And now I have a nice letter from the bank too. But we're going to go after them too and get that money. So, crazy story, right? Over some text messaging of the whereabouts of your kids. This is why this is a powerful story. This is why I can be the voice for this process because, as I always say, the wrong one woke up and I'm over getting kicked in the dick by the system. So, guardian ad litem number 2. Now, at this point, I've had an hour worth of evidence dropped in my lap of what my kids were experiencing, what my wife was going through. I even, way back in the beginning, since there was a TPO on me, went to put a TPO on the boyfriend. I had a judge in DeKalb County. Yeah, buddy, I told you I was coming back after you. Look me in the face and go, Mr. Kaiser, I'm so sorry. You ain't going to like this. But there's a corporal punishment law that protects that man because your wife is silly enough to move in and he's allowed to reprimand your kids. See this face, Judge? I'm going to sue the fuck out of all you. And he was like, excuse me? I said, they're my kids, man. Are you kidding me right now? They're my kids. Offspring. You got to get that kid word out. Offspring. Property. And he was like, Mr. Kaiser, I don't like the law. I said, you see me? He goes, yeah. I said, I'm going to change it. I hope you do. I said, okay, I'm coming for your signature on my petition. And I do have a petition if anybody wants it to flip over the corporal punishment law. That means that people, look, the first thing to this experience that they want you to do, your religion, your government, right? They want you to reprimand your kids. They want you to scare the fuck out of your kids, right? Because fear is what manifests as chaos, and chaos is what pays revenue. And we need to break out of that shit. We're in the end of chaos. We're moving into a heart-centered reality. That's why all this content's here. So, where was I? All right, so after I threatened him, second guardian ad litem. Now, a guardian ad litem's job is to protect children. All right? This guardian ad litem had received $1,200 of my money. And for some odd reason, she comes to investigate me first. Comes to my place right here. My kids are here. And when you realize thoughts are things, and when you study Silva methods, you can learn how to tap in to somebody else's thought waves. She was saying how spiritual she was and how she meditated and all this great things. Gaslight, gaslight, gaslight. You know, I was reading her. I've such nice kids, but I'm worried about their speech. Well, I'm sorry that they have a mom that stares at a phone and doesn't interact. I said, I had my kids the whole entire time. My kids were outside every day, from day to night, interacting with the world, learning active service. All right? I was teaching my kids wealth principles. The system don't want you to teach your kids wealth principles. They want you to teach your kids poverty, right? They want you to be the dad in 0 to 7 chugging a beer, knowing that when your kids get to that monumental moment where that alcohol is there, they're going to say, yeah, give me that shit. Where my kids are programmed to understand that that behavior is poor people shit. And if that triggers anybody, you want these processes to work? Or do you want to be in these groups for another 10 years going, it ain't working? In your reality, it's not working. I'm going to teach you how to create your own. So basically, I read this woman's thoughts, and I kind of felt like she trying to infringe on my children. And it started to dawn on me, why is she investigating me right now? I'm the one spending the money, right? And now at this point, God said, we're shutting the door on your money. You're not giving them fuckers any more of your money. And she wanted more money to keep this going. And it didn't feel right anymore. And I got more heart-centered again. I started asking myself, would God try to cause anybody harm? And even though my wife is kicking me in the face over and over, text messages that come to me are very, very mean, I love her because I see her suffering. So, now at this point, I've been back in front of these judges so many times. The other day, they issued an arrest order because they wanted more money. And then I challenged jurisdiction. I already told this guardian ad litem, I'm suing you. The second I sent her that message, the first arrest warrant went. Putting a warrant on me is like, you're not going to bother me with that shit. I understand reality, and I understand I operate at a level of vibration that I'm not going anywhere. And I also create a better avenue just in case, right? I was like, all right, you want to put me on the inside? You know how many guys I'm going to get out? You really want to cost yourself that much revenue? You know how many people I'm going to teach if they have a trust? You know how many people I'm going to tell in there, get your family on this content? Look, create a great reality no matter what you're going through in life. Always find the light in the dark. It's important. If I would let the dark eat me up, I would have stuck a gun in my mouth by now and blew my fucking brains out. But I'm not going anywhere. This fight is far from over. So what I'm going to do today, and I want to know if this is a good idea. We have a lot of law enforcement out there that has no idea that they're about to be defunded when the American dollar crumbles. And they're going to be in a big shitstorm with a lot of craziness. I am thinking about writing a letter, right? Number one, I'm going to my office. I'm doing all my fee schedules, getting notarized. I'm going to have all this ready to send off to the court tomorrow. Now, if I have to do W-4 sandwiches, conditional acceptance, this is what I want to know. Like, what's the best way to really let them see all this and go, fuck, we can't do business because he owns it all. Remember, my kids are on this paperwork. I own that all cap name, all right? So, with that knowledge, right, and knowledge to understand it, I'm not doing this for a car. You know, is that a bonus and all that? Yes. I'm doing this for all the other single parents out there getting fucked. All right, I'm a good dude. The old me a decade and a half ago, this would make sense. The me for 3 years that served everybody that I ever met, it doesn't make sense. All right, and that's where I'm just asking for some help on anybody, right? If you want me to help you, I will help you. I will serve you. I'm not the guys that, I had somebody send me just a little bit of information about the do not detain. That takes like 35, 40 days. That puts me past Christmas, never hearing my kids' voices? No. And yes, even though my wife is in contempt right now, I'm not putting anything on her. Because if you read the damn order, it has in there that dad cannot make any movement, right? So that means that this guardian ad litem who just said, I think we need a hair follicle test. Fuck you. That'll cost you $2 million if you want a piece of my hair, even though I have nothing to worry about. I don't do drugs, right? Have I played with psychedelics before? Yeah, but it's been a long time. And God would make my hair test negative. Now my wife, on the other hand, During this madness, she decided one weekend to be very, very ignorant and dick me on my visitation when I only get my kids 4 days a month, when I had them all that time. And she rubbed me the wrong way to the point that on the Sunday when I was supposed to return them, I knew intuitionally she went to a drug party for 4 days called Imagine Fest. Y'all might know what it is. Out there posing nude and doing all her crazy stuff that is just, it is what it is. But I went to Athens with my paperwork, got the law involved, went to her house where my son was with a homeless guy who was watching my kids, and he really was a homeless guy, that my wife moved in to be a fucking nanny, and my daughter wasn't there. My daughter was 30 minutes away out in the fucking woods with another family. Here's where it gets even more interesting. During all this, I have actual social media footage of my wife practicing black magic and witchcraft. Creepy shit, but if you know the narrative of where social media is, there's a lot of dark going on. All right? So I get my kids, I bring them back to Atlanta. I had to take them to the hospital. My son had upper respiratory. My daughter had pneumonia. The court knew about all this at this point. This woman's in contempt. I had a police report. Right? This is where it gets funny. She thought, and I gaslit her for once, she thought I was going to let the kids go back the next day when she got done her drug fest. She wanted to borrow my car seats and all. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, she came, go pound sand. All right? I don't give a shit. They're sick. I'm getting them healthy. I'm a health and wellness coach. My kids did not eat any bad food and never got sick. They've been with their mom. They've been sick the entire time. And you have to understand energy of what she's wrapped up in. That's going to create a lot of negative energy for my kids. All right? They had the nerve again to put a warrant on me. When I had my kids, I refused to give them back because of their court order. I knew I had a hearing coming on it, like it was probably 6 days away. When I went in front of the judge, she was like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to let go of that warrant and you just give the kids back. And then we'll come back to this after the guardian ad litem. You know, Mr. Kaiser, are you going to pay her $1,200? And at the time, I was like, I guess. Well, after I got done, I was like, well, you could pay your rent or you could pay that girl who wants to steal your kids. I'll pay my rent. But then God even showed me even more, right? And I want to go into this. Like, this is actual. I'm the best case study in the world. Because number one, I'm in a case that has no evidence. I'm being fucking extorted. I've spent over 10 grand cash. And I have proof of everything because I'm a content guy. I have been on the phone with DFACS attorneys because I went to Athens and they tried to treat me like everybody else. And I went off. You work for me. This is a public building. Right? Went off until a supervisor came out and gave me the damn information I needed to the way up in DFACS. Yeah, I got her too. I got them all by the balls. They're all swinging. And we're all going to help bring them to justice. All right? Because in my case, after I create a little bit of digital content and do some Facebook ads, there's no way heart-centered parents out there aren't going to see the video and be like, we have to help this guy. And what now here, private, public stuff, am I okay to do this through y'all? Do you agree I should do this? Because I believe, number one, you have to understand media controls reality. All right, that's why your news is all negative. Politics, ignore all that shit. Step out of that fucking world. All right, please, do not entertain Netflix and chill. Pick up the book, Power of Subconscious Mind. Let that be the first. Now, should I do this trying to get media attention? Should I send this to Fox News? It seems like they like stories like this about corruption. They like Hunter Biden's laptop. They like all that stuff. Is that okay? And where we're at now, right here, I don't bullshit. Here's a letter from my apartment complex telling me that I owe $4,554.72. No partial payments. And they said if it wasn't in by the 10th, that a depository warrant would be filed that would negatively reflect my rental history. Now, I want to give you a word of advice. If you can't pay your rent, and they stick that fucking thing on your door. And it says, hey, go here and don't do that. Don't do that. You're entering a contract that you understand that you haven't paid your rent. I never saw it. They served a fucking door. They didn't serve me. They served a motherfucking door. Somebody must have took it. When I'm doing this tomorrow too. 1099A. I'm going to put in there my fee schedules for the name and all that, just to be safe. But I'm also going to put in there what happened in Fulton County, how I got to this point, where all the money went, right? And I'm going to advise them of how to take care of this coupon. And not only am I going to pay this, but I'm going to put another one in there for next month. Then month after that. The month after that. And then I'm going to tell them at that point, we can go back to a paper bill and I will deposit it into my trust account and I'll pay for it that way. Remember, I'm seeing a lot of processes. That's the reason why I kind of made content about the 1099-C, about being able to take these things, do this little thing, and go to your bank manager and say, hey, deposit this. And if that's true and it reverses back to your account, all right? And again, I want to enlighten y'all. Don't keep your money in cash. Buy silver, all right? If you don't understand a blockchain at all, buy silver. Now, am I telling you to dump all your money in Bitcoin? No, I'm saying you to have a diverse portfolio. All right, right now is the best price as ever to buy Bitcoin. Now, if you bought, say, 10 grand of Bitcoin right now, and it's going to do what I know it's going to do, I'm creating that in my mind. That's important. It's going to 100x at some point. Whether it takes 5 years, who cares? If you're getting all this money back, you're not losing. But if you leave it in a bank, you're going to fucking lose. So as quick as you get this stuff in, get assets. Now, since we know how to do all this, it'll fix our credit. That means you can start getting approved on property. Go buy property. All right? And as soon as you get approved, do your 1099-C, bang. Let them pay for the property. Look, I study everybody. Every wealthy person that's ever lived since the 1900s until now. Robert Kiyosaki talks all the time about, I get wealthy on debt. What the fuck does that mean? I own 13,000 properties. I do this. I'm like, I own nothing in the stock market. And I'm just like, man, what's this guy know? And if you listen to him, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you don't know who it is, his book, Wealthy knew something that we didn't know. I'm just going to say that this is the information. Let that be in your head that you just got smoked on information. All right, and a lot of people have known that you could do this for a long time, but they walk into private. All right, they're not just going to come out and say, hey, you can do this. Because if you're not at the right frequency of information, you're not going to understand it anyway. You're going to be watching football. You're going to be watching basketball, porn, whatever your distraction is. So I knew as I went through all these books, and I've been through hundreds of them, someday this discipline is going to pay off. And then humanitarian group, terminology, Chris Hauser, Felicia, I forget, Path to Freedom. There's so many good, Lone Wolf. There's so many good people out there. All right? But I am planning on, let me backtrack with the cops. I want to write them a letter stating what, as a spiritual man, I believe is going to happen. And when it does, I want them to remember my email and information, just in case if it does. And I'm going to try to get them to keep who they are, right? But be a civil servant, right? If shit starts hitting the fan, please get all of your guys on this. Break away from that, denounce away from that, and become on the light energy team and protect the right people. Look, I want y'all to wake up to this. Important. Fear is false evidence appearing real. If you have any fear vibration in you, none of this will work. You have to be fearless. You have to be willing to go in front of a judge a week after knowing content and just going at it. All right? So here's proof. We're going to do this, right? And at the same time, I'm going to show you all that gets handled. All right, I was thinking about following Chapter 7. And I was like, wait a second. I want to buy a $500,000 RV and travel the nation with my kids. That's been my dream for 5 years. Now, it's about to be a fucking reality. All right? And I'm not even going to have to pay for it at all. Because I'm very good at talking. Just like I have a car dealer in Athens blowing up my shit, we're going to go play with them too. See, since I'm so open to everybody giving me information, I don't see color. I talk to everybody. And during this whole process, I didn't know if I would be able to get another place. Now, I saw God bend reality before with paperwork and get approved on places when I was already going through evictions, and I was like, what the fuck is it? All right, but with this place, I put it on a CPN number. Now, when I first did that, because there's a little process to doing it, they have you kind of send out pre-approvals. And I was pre-approved on a car for $35,000. Well, here recently, my wife took away my visitation because she said that she didn't have a vehicle. She couldn't get the 90 minutes because she took off 90 minutes away to get down here. So I was like, fuck it, I'll buy her a car. And I was going to do it on my CPN number. So I did a pre-approval with the Toyota dealership. Now I put the CPN number. Now, always remember your personal cell phone number will always take anybody back to your social. And somehow I think autofill put that number and not my, if you ever want to do this, you got to get a text me now number, temporary number. It won't trace back to you. Well, when I started to learn this, I said, all right, I got to pull my credit report. And I saw the Toyota dealership fraudulently, without permission, ran my social. All right? So not knowing like what that meant, I sent him a text and said, listen, I'm a content creator. And I said, and I'm just looking at different processes out here of how to help other human beings. So welcome to the show. Now, he's still calling me. He still wants to do business. Now, I'm going to call him and be like, look, you know I gave you a different number on that application. You ran my social. So now we're in a contract. All right? Now, let's keep this contract up and up. You saw my credit scores of 520. I'm going to come down there, but I'm going to come down there with 1099A. All right? And if you want to, you can approve me on a loan with that as being a down payment. And then I will turn that into a 1099C, and I'll have my trust pay your dealership. And that's what I'm going to sell to them, and I'm going to do it. I'm on it, audio all of it. I don't know if I'll be able to record it, but you will get to hear it. Because I think that's what people want and need. Right? But a lot of people are like, I need to see it. No, you have to have the belief that it'll work. And I'm losing my voice because I've been nonstop. I'm exhausted. I've not been sleeping. I have dreams about talking to my wife about all this. And open up your fucking eyes, woman. We're being smoked. We're being scammed. They want our fucking money. And now I feel like they want my kids. And I'm not going to let that happen. I will leave this experience if I have to, protecting my children. Because I know death is a fucking illusion. And when I come to on the other side, I'm going to be with my kids because I'll show God again I'm not afraid of a fucking thing. And you shouldn't be afraid either. So I have a lot of things I want to do, like getting law enforcement involved. And I want to show them the evidence. Like, look, this is what this county's doing to me. This is who I was. And I kept very good track of me and my kids' experiences and our adventures. I have YouTube content out there showing other parents what I was doing during a fucking pandemic where everybody was hiding inside, wearing a fucking mask, getting shots. Have a humanitarian heart, and God will give you the keys. But please, if anybody sees this video, and you already wrote conditional acceptances, and you know the terminology, I'll voice note you all the facts. I just need a little bit of help because I want to do all three processes to everybody. And that's another thing. Everybody in the courthouse. Do I put them on one? Or do I have to do one for each of them? Clerk, 2 guardian items, 2 of my attorneys, my wife's attorney, who, chief magistrate, the sheriff that's now on the arrest order. Do I have to do a separate one for all of them? And if I do, I have a lot of work to do. And I won't fucking sleep tonight. I'll drink red lines like it's my fucking job. And I'm sorry about the F-bombs. Remember, everything's energy. But I'm sick of getting kicked in the dick by the system. I know you are too. And this is freedom for all. Not just me. This ain't about me just getting a car. Again, if that's your mindset, have fun in 10 years still looking at this. And look, the depression that's about to hit this nation. The collapse of the dollar. I study people. Some people are talking about this going to be a 30-year low. And if you understand cash is the only thing that they're putting value on in this nation, because we don't have gold, we don't have silver, we don't have any precious metals. We're a glutton society that de-earthed all of them to play a fucked up game of ego. Now you have to understand China, TikTok, all the goods coming from China. They're draining the dollars away from Americans. I said this a while ago. In this reality, number one, you have somebody way up here. We're just going to call them the banks. I call it BLACK, I won't even say that name anymore. I made a mistake of making content about that, and I watched my GOOGLELOCAL disappear with 59 5-star ratings. I had a clientele at $850 a car, and like that, it was gone. And I promise you, that's why private, public, I learned my lesson with that one. But just a little bit of guidance. There's a lot of people who are good at this. But I cannot wait 35 to 40 days for a do not detain thing. If you know a faster way, am I close to already getting there? You know what I mean? I just need a little bit of help, guys. For everybody out there in these groups doing this work, I love you with all my heart. And you are a true humanitarian. Because I promise you, the energy I'm connected to way up there is already things that I built in my head, and I'm watching it become a reality. The humanitarian group I got pulled into, the platform, is something I had already seen in my head of how we could take back the power over governments. World governments, not just ours. And this humanitarian project, everything about how a 1099-C will go in and come back to you about gaining access to our trust. It's all together. We're living it. This is it. This is the creation. It's all of us doing this. And you have to understand the way thoughts work as a collective consciousness. The more of us that believe in this, and I'm talking about meditating, all right, you have to see these things. All right, every success book I've ever been through, every successful human being making a difference on this planet, they have a meditation process. All right, now being a spiritual guy, it doesn't work. Like you gotta get to it. Now I meditated all the way for a year straight, disciplined, Wim Hof breath work, cold water showers. I went down every fucking rabbit hole you can go down. Fasted for a week, went to 10-day silent meditations. So now I'm in like a meditative state all the time. If a bad thought comes into my head, I go, bam, get the fuck out. We're not thinking bad today. We're thinking how to save everybody. So, freedom for all. I love you all. I mean that. I don't think I missed anything here. You know, I care about my wife still. She had a really traumatic childhood. And I had to listen to that story so many times be told to me. It's almost like that's why it manifested into our lives. And I like to look up people's spiritual numbers. If you want me to look you up, just send me a message. My wife is a true humanitarian at heart. She has just fallen into social media like a lot of women in their 20 to 30s in a whole different addiction process of giving a fuck about what other people think and thinking it's cool to do things that are Cardi B related. We have to stop this smut culture reality that we got going on. This OnlyFans moms. We got to stop it. And I believe we're all going to stop that together. Because the more of us to access this, and you're a heart-centered human being, my money is going to open up community centers all around this nation. That's why I'm buying an RV. It's the reason why the nonprofit is created. I'm going to need a lot of revenue because I'm going to create these things and teach people what they need to teach other people. Kind of like what we're doing. But out there, and at the same time, I want community centers for kids coming from bad parenting. Bad parenting is the epidemic. All right, your kids are in the 0 to 7. Whatever you show them and teach them, they have the ability to create in their lives. So be really good parents. Really good energy. And if you're doing it the way your government told you to do it and your religion, it's fucking wrong. A good parenting book. Conscious Parenting by Dr. Shivali. All right? Mindset book. Shit, there's so many of them, but Power Subconscious Mind. And if you want to see the design of food and medicine, Hacking of the American Mind. You taking them 3 fucking books. And I promise you, if you live with different energy, and you stop killing this, you will create what we're doing. I love y'all. That was a long video. I hope all this worked. I'm going to post it up. And I'm going to go hide out in my office and get all this shit done. So, please, if you happen to see this, if you sat through this, and you can help me get any of this done today, please let me know. And if you need to be paid, okay, I got you. Just make it reasonable, please. All right? I've been extorted enough. And I'm like Chris Hauser. When I learned this, when I first started this process of personal development, I learned about Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, and I looked at these guys like, why didn't they just give this shit away? We would have such a better world out there. In a way, they did. So you got to understand, certain people are living in a reality that we're not a part of yet, but we're transferring there. And the more heart space that we are, the quicker our transfer happens. All right? There's about to be a flip in wealth. You are a part of it. I'm a part of it. Chris Hauser is a big part of it. All right? And we can all become our own banks. We can help people the way we want to. And that's powerful. I love y'all. Peace.